It's like an eviction party.
Yeah.
Not the worst idea in the world. All right.
Okay. Here we go. Are you ready? You got your timer?
Yep.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Team Morale Podcast, where we do our three favorite things: talk a little bit of booze, a little bit of beer, and a whole lot of basketball. E and the Tall Guy back with you again for another podcast. Mitch, we're in the 30s.
We're in the 30s.
We have made over 30 podcasts.
Oh man, that's scaring me because like I'm almost 30, so it's like freaking me out a little bit. It moves fast, you guys.
We are flying through these. We are very excited to be back with you again for another podcast. We are just happy to have a following actually to this point.
Yeah. Hey, we love all you guys that are listening and constant weekly listeners. Everyone that follows us on social media. It's great. We love you guys.
Yeah. Reach out to your friends, family. Throw us out there. We're trying to get bigger and better, and we're just happy to be around. When we started this thing, what was it, like 6 months ago? We are like just a couple of guys looking to get drunk on the weekdays, and now
I was just trying to find a reason to day drink, and all of a sudden we've just kept doing it.
And now people listen to us while we do it, which is super fun. So we are very happy to be here, very happy to be talking basketball and booze as usual. Today we've got another banger of a podcast coming up. The ESPN came out with a pretty big list, right, Mitch?
Yeah. The top 25 players under the age of 25. So the top 25 under 25.
They come out with it every year, and it's a pretty big list. They have three of their top sports writers come up with their list, and they kind of combine them to make one big list. This year they did it a little bit differently, which, Mitch, I think you're going to explain here in a minute. But before we do,
today we are drinking the local Revolver beer, Blood and Honey. It's they call it an American ale, which is, not totally used for describing like the type of beer very often. But Blood and Honey, specifically Revolver, the brewing company, it comes out of, hold on, I got it right here. I just had it. It comes out of Granbury, Texas. So here local in the DFW area, and it's kind of one of the local favorites. Yeah,
it's a big local favorite. It kind of burst onto the scene a couple of years ago, where it all of a sudden it just was like there, and then people were like, what is this? And then they started trying it, and they started loving it.
Mid-college for us, I remember seeing it all over the place. It went from me like never heard of it, never heard of Revolver, to it's like, oh, Blood and Honey is on every single menu at every single restaurant that you'll go to. It's all over the place at lots of parties and stuff. And it kind of just burst onto the scene. It was originally created by a father and son duo, Ron and Rhett Keisler. And the guys, they come up with a couple different concoctions, but their number one is this Blood and Honey. And it's like considered to be like the MVP of Revolver. And so and there's not a whole ton of history to it. It's pretty new, it's pretty recent. It is local here in Texas for us. But if you are outside of Texas and you have a chance to find Blood and Honey, it's really good.
Yeah, it's really good. 7% alcohol, just a solid beer. The thing on the back of the bottle says, an unfiltered, deep golden ale brewed with malt, two-row barley, and wheat, finished with blood orange peel, Texas honey, and a blend of spices.
I was actually going to read that later on if you didn't do it now, because like it's almost like it gives itself a little review here on the bottle. It tells you exactly what you're looking for. 7% alcohol, like it's kind of like a nice looking bottle too. I like it.
We'll break down the taste a little bit more later, but overall, I cannot stress enough that this beer just was like overnight was not there and then there. And then it was everywhere. Like it became so popular so fast, and it just all of a sudden you went to your local grocery store and they were everywhere.
Yeah, I'd be willing to bet that as far as beers made in the DFW area, this has got to be the most popular one, at least throughout the state of Texas. I know, like, I've gone to like Austin and Houston, and like almost all of them have Blood and Honey. Blood, they have a lot of good selection, by the way. Like Revolver has a lot of good beers, but Blood and Honey is far and away like what I said, their MVP. This is what they use, and like this is what like their go-to beer is, and it's totally just taken over in the state of Texas. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's starting to spread out a little more than that.
Yeah, absolutely. If you are our listeners not in the DFW area, not in the Texas region, and you find yourself with the opportunity to get a Blood and Honey, give it a try.
Yeah, give it a shot. It's a very nice beer.
But after talking about the beer, introducing it a little bit, why don't we break down this list for a second? So why don't you explain a little bit more about what this list is and why it's a little different this year than it was in years past?
Okay, so they always come out with this list every year, and it's a fun thing to theorize about. If nothing else, basketball fans love to have arguments that have no real definition of like a winner.
They love an obscure argument over things that cannot be compared.
Exactly. It's like, who's the GOAT, LeBron or MJ?
They love comparing apples to oranges.
Yes.
That's what basketball fans love because there's no right answer and people love to take sides.
Yeah, you take your side and you stand by it and you argue it, and you can argue and argue and argue and argue, but at the end of the conversation, there is no winner. That's just kind of what it is. And that is what the top 25 under 25 is. They kind of take the stance of who do we think has the most potential? Like
it's almost as if like if you were in a fantasy draft right now and you were able to pick these players, who would you pick to like start building your team around in terms of the future?
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. And so so how are you looking towards these guys and what are they going to look like at the end of their careers? That is what they're guessing towards. They take 3 of their top writers, and each of the top writers makes their own top 25 list. There's a couple guys that there's some dudes that these guys listed that didn't make it onto the top 25 overall. There's some that are super higher than the other guys, but there's 3 writers, all with their own opinion, all make their top 25 list. They combine these guys, make an aggregate, and ESPN comes out with their totality of what is the top 25 guys under the age of 25.
And every year, basketball fans eagerly wait this to debate who should be on it, who shouldn't be on it, who's too high, who's too low, who's potential are they overrating. This year there's a clear person who they are very highly valuing their future potential, which will be fun to talk about later. We'll get into that a little bit later, but let's kind of break down this list. Let's kind of dive into it, talk about what we like, what we don't like, and we're going to divide it into 3 different parts. So they have their top 25, so we're going to go 30 to 25, who is like the end of their list and guys who we think they left off. So yeah. Mitch, let's kind of dive into that a little.
Okay, so
or do you want to run down the whole list first?
No, I'm going to start off with the guys who have aged out. And this is according to the ESPN, the ESPN article.
So you're looking at the article right now.
So yeah, I'm looking at the article right now. So these are the guys that they have listed that were on the list last year, and they now have turned from 25 to 26 years old. That's Kat, Karl Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell, Zach LaVine, and Kristaps Porzingis. So these guys no longer eligible. They're over the age of 25 or whatever their cutoff is, because they have 22.6 as their age. They have it very specifically defined. So these guys might be 25.1 or something like that. But they're officially not.
Age out. I would throw another guy on that list. I'm not sure if they mentioned there. Jokic, who I think is 25 or 26 now, who a lot of people were talking about in what I saw about this list. So he's also aged out of it.
Yeah. And so I'm going to start off with the guys who did not make the top 25 that we think probably should have made the top 25, or they were voted for by one of the other writers that did not make the eventual top 25 list. So here's the list of those guys. Sean Marks, he put RJ Barrett at 22 and DeJounte Murray at 24. Kevin Pelton put OG Anunoby at 21, Emmanuel Quickley at 24, and Keldon Johnson at 25. And I forgot the first name of this guy, but it's Schmitz, and he got the top 25 perfect, outside of RJ Barrett.
So basically, you went writer by writer, and some guys picked guys that were left off. So basically, the guys that didn't make the list that probably could or should have are, and I'm looking at the list right here, Jaren Jackson Jr., Triple J. And that's injury related.
That's more injury related. I mean, of all the guys that we listed, to me, he should be on the top.
Yeah,
he should be on the top of this list.
So guys that didn't make Jaren Jackson Jr., Jonathan Isaac, RJ Barrett, DeJounte Murray, OG Anunoby, Emmanuel Quickley, and Keldon Johnson. A lot of guys there to dive into. I would say Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Jonathan Isaac, as you said, injury related.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely like both of those guys have pretty much been out this entire season. Jaren Jackson actually has had a pretty decent health record throughout his like basketball career up until this year, which he hasn't played the entirety of this year. So you like forget how good he is. Same thing with Jonathan Isaac. The guy was like up for like a DPOY award last year when he was averaging over 2 steals and 2 blocks a game. And then you got some random dudes. So I'm going to start off with the first random guy that should not be on this list is Emmanuel Quickley.
Yeah, no, that guy popped for like 2 months.
He's fine. He's good.
He's okay.
Like he's good for a rookie.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, you might as well throw Jalen Brunson on this list.
Yeah, like he's a solid young backup point guard. It's exactly what he is right now. Does he have the potential to be better than these other guys? Sure. Maybe he does, but overall, I would not have him even be sniffing the top 25.
25 under 25 tells me the way the NBA works now is you need to last longer. At 25 years old, it means you've been in the NBA for a minute. Let's be honest. In the NBA,
depending on if you're a 4-year guy out of college or not. But
generally, you've been in the NBA for a minute. Quickly has been in the NBA for like 6 months. I need to know a little bit more about you, man. But that being said, you've got another rookie here, Keldon Johnson, who has been a staple for the
second-year guy. Keldon Johnson played in the G League last year with the Spurs, and he's a second-year guy now.
So, but anyways, first year with the Spurs.
Yes, first year actually playing with the Spurs this year.
And has been a staple for them, a solid player. Barrett really popping this year, but people are kind of a little bit afraid to trust him, RJ Barrett, because he's kind of sucked up until this year.
His efficiency has been all over the place. Like he has some games where he really pops and looks like that guy. It's like, oh, he might be an all-star. Like he's looking like he could be an all-star. And then he has other nights where it's like, oof. This is rough to look at.
Yeah, but then the two that I can see that are like on the fringe of this list are DeJounte Murray and OG Anunoby.
Oh, I totally agree with that.
Both those guys are studs. Let's be honest, young studs. DeJounte Murray especially. I'm surprised he's not on this list. I look on this list of 25 and I can pick guys that I would take DeJounte Murray above.
I am a huge supporter of DeJounte Murray. I think that he's going to end up being one of the best defenders, at the minimum, best guard defenders in the NBA. The dude is like a total terror, long wingspan, as quick as they come, like laterally very, very quick and super explosive. He's a really fun guy to watch. And I think the Spurs are leaning into him as being like their guy going forward, which to me points out that he should be in the top 25 because he's looking like he's turning into a star. You can kind of see like that crest for some guys. Like I feel like I'm seeing that with DeJounte.
Yeah, he's just a stud overall. Really good. Just needs to develop a little bit of a jump shot in order to like really kind of well-round his whole NBA game. Mm-hmm. But in terms of defensively, in terms of ball handling, in terms of passing, he is as good as they come.
Yeah, super creative guy. Like very, very creative on the handle. Very creative in the way that he distributes to his teammates. I would agree he does need to get a little bit better in the shooting category. He's been okay, but it's not knocking your socks off in an era where three-pointers are so valuable. He's been okay, but he's not where you would want him to be if he's actually going to make that turn and become an all-star.
Yeah, and then the other guy, OG Anunoby, just another stud, a good defender, averaging 15 points a game. Just a good player, an efficient player. I would pick Murray over him, but still a good option here.
Yeah, totally agree. And then the other guy was OG, and OG is playing like
that's what I'm talking about.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Come on.
I got caught up. I was looking at the list. It's really fun to like look at this list and go over it, but OG is gonna be one of the best 3-and-D guys in the NBA if he's not already right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he shoots over 39% from three. He plays really good defense. He's efficient overall, averaging 15 points a game. Like I said, just a well-rounded player. It's just Toronto's struggling this year, so he's not getting the coverage he deserves.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think that next year Toronto plans on having... Go ahead and open the new bottle, man. It's okay. Be loud. Go ahead and be loud.
I'm not going to hide it.
Ethan's already cracking open the second bottle.
This stuff's good.
It is. It's good stuff. I think the Raptors are turning a corner next year. Like they know that they're not bringing Lowry back, and that's why they traded for Gary Trent, because they know that their future is Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent, and OG on the wings.
Yeah.
And all three of those guys shoot lights out. That is a very scary core. All of them good defenders, all of them good shooters. Like, I think that OG is kind of going to be the best player of that group, though.
All right. So we're already, 15 minutes into this podcast?
Yes.
And we haven't even touched the list yet. So let's get into the list.
All right. I do like talking about the guys
snubs.
who the snubs.
Absolutely the snubs. Let's break down these last 5 before we get into our next group. So the 20 through 25 on this list are DeAndre Ayton, Tyrese Halliburton, John Collins, Jared Allen, Lonzo Ball, and Colin Sexton.
Is there anyone there that screams out to you like they don't deserve to be on this list?
If anyone screams to me, it's Sexton, and
really?
They have him at 25, and that is because he was so good to start the year, but he's been in the league for, more than just this year, and he hasn't been very good.
So I kind of disagree with that. So I think that his rookie year, he the entire Cavs team was just bad, and he was like the rookie that was like it was one of those things where it's like we're gonna toss you the keys and it's like you're just gonna be bad. But the Cavs look good at the beginning of the season. Like
that's what I said. He popped for
they've had
2
some
months,
good moments.
Every NBA player pops for 2 months at some point.
I mean,
and then they come back down to earth, and he's back down to earth.
I like Sexton a lot. I think that Sexton has shown to me he's one of those guys he's super intense. Like you've seen some of those videos of his
intense.
eyes go crazy wide. He just gives you the crazy eyes and it freaks you out a little bit. Also, he's got that dumb little rat tail. I'm just looking at that right now.
But I
don't love that.
His 3-point percentage has progressively gotten worse. He shot 40% his rookie year, 38 his sophomore year, and now he's down to 35 this year. I mean, his field goal percentage has gone up, but he's just overall 3-point efficiency has gone down. His points have gone up. He's averaging 24 a game, but I think I'd take DeJounte Murray over Sexton. I'm gonna be honest.
That's tough for me.
Me I'm right.
Nah, I really like both of them. I think that I would take Sexton over Murray as far as long-term potential. If we're talking about who would you rather
Which is
draft
why this list was consistent.
Yeah, it's who you're going to draft in a fantasy draft for the rest of your franchise. I think I'd probably take Sexton because I think he has a higher ceiling. Now, the guy I don't like on this list, and I think you're going to disagree with me, is Lonzo. And I actually really like Lonzo. I think Lonzo's a great dude. I think that he has shown consistency and improvement over the last couple of years, but I don't think that he should be on this list. I think that just about everyone that we listed behind him should be higher.
I mean, the dude averages 15,
except for Emmanuel Quickly.
The dude averages 15, 5, and 5. That's solid.
It's solid. I think, here's my take, is he is going to be a solid basketball player for a very long time. I would be surprised if he ever turned into an all-star, though.
I'd agree, but I mean, that being said, you're talking about 25 under 25. You think all 25 of these players are going to be all-stars?
I mean, maybe not, but we're looking at guys that have potential to be all-stars. Hey, Dad, don't call me. When you're listening to this podcast, you'll know that you're calling me in the middle of the podcast. So I'm going to go down just this list of just this group of 20. DeAndre Ayton, Tyrese Halliburton, John Collins, Jared Allen, and Colin Sexton. Every single one of those guys, I think has the potential to be an all-star. I do not see that with Lonzo.
I don't see it with Sexton and Allen.
I do. I totally do. Dude, I think DeAndre Jordan was an all-star. I think that Jared Allen makes the all-star game in the same way that Allen does. If the Cavs
that was a different brand of basketball.
Well, no. Let's say the Cavs are really good. Let's say the Cavs are a top 4 or 3 seed, and it's led by Sexton and Allen.
LeBron's coming back. They're going to be a top 4 or 3 seed.
No, but dude, these guys are 22 and 22. They got a long time to develop and make the Cavs good. In theory, I mean, we saw the Hornets and Knicks be good this year. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Good is relative.
Good is in the top 4 seed in the East.
Which is 500.
Which is relative.
All right, so Lonzo, I think he deserves to be there. You don't. I don't think Sexton deserves to be there. You do.
I kind of think the other parts of this group is pretty right, though.
I would agree. Ayton, Halliburton, Collins, and Allen are definites on this list. I do think Collins might deserve to be higher, but in the interest of time, let's move on to our next group, because otherwise it's going to be a 3-hour podcast.
I could talk about this stuff forever.
Which is going to be 10 through 19. So I'm going to rattle off 19 through 10 here. So Anthony Edwards is 19.
So we're going backwards.
Yes. Domantas Sabonis is 18. Mikal Bridges is 17. Trae Young, 16, Ja Morant, 15, Michael Porter Jr., 14, Jamal Murray, 13, Jaylen Brown, 12, Brandon Ingram, 11, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 10.
So, okay. I'm going to start off with this.
There's a lot to unpack.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. There's a lot of just very different styles of players. Guys with, I think, that have high floors, and guys that I think that have very high ceilings. I'm going to start with this for you. Who of this group do you think is going to end up being the best?
The best?
The best player out of this group. Like at the end of their career, you look back, they have the best stats, best accolades. I mean, a lot of this is like, could go anywhere, but who of this group do you think is the best at the end of their career?
Which is funny because I see one guy that definitely doesn't deserve to be here.
Do you want to start with that? Who's the guy?
Who doesn't deserve to be here? Who definitely does not deserve to be here among these names.
Okay.
I don't see a clear number one, but I see a clear last.
Okay. Who's your last?
Mikal Bridges. 100%. Great player, great defender, but really, you're going to put him at 17 above Sabonis, Edwards, Ayton, Halliburton? Like, come on. Again, the potential's there. Great defender. He could be a DPOY candidate. But, like, at 17 above Sabonis, who's already an all-star twice? Like, come on.
Yeah, dude, that's pretty wild. I don't think Mikal Bridges should be in the top 20. If you put him 20 through 25, I'd be like, okay. He's going to be a really, really good third option role player guy for the rest of his career.
I don't know if I'd take him over Lonzo.
Oh, I do. I'd rather have Mikal Bridges than Lonzo on my team.
I don't know. But the
fact
depends
what you need.
But the fact that we're having that discussion and he's at 17 is ridiculous to me.
No, okay, so obviously we're going based off of potential, but a guy that I don't really love and I don't think should be in the top 20 right now is Edwards. Edwards has popped. He has had huge games. But Corey Brewer had a 50-point game. Andre Miller had a 50-point game. Random guys can go off and pop off, and it's like...
Yeah, but he's also had a couple of 40-point games, too.
Yeah, so it's like, when he's on, he is absolutely on. And it's wild how good he is.
You could say the same thing about Jamal Murray, and we're not arguing that either.
But Jamal Murray has actually played on a team and been like a role...
You mean he's had good teammates?
I mean, it's not like Anthony Edwards has bad teammates. Like Karl Anthony Towns is a pretty darn good basketball player. D'Angelo Russell's a pretty darn good basketball player.
All this year, he's barely played.
They have plenty. They have okay guys around him. It's not like he showed up and he was like. I mean, I'd say that Colin Sexton was by himself when he showed up on the Cavaliers.
Well, yes, but
Anthony Edwards has some guys on his team, and
Colin Sexton didn't have a 40-point game when he was by himself on the Cavaliers.
I have a hard time with his consistency being all over the place. I think he's a really fun personality. I think that his pop potential is as high as just about anyone on this list. He could go on to be one of the best players that we've ever seen.
Which is why he's 19.
Which is why he's that high. But I think that the major inconsistencies in his personality and in his ability, his rookie year shows that he should be a little lower.
I mean, I think that the major inconsistencies show the exact opposite. I think that once he's
that's going to show that he's going to be a good player?
I think that rookies are inconsistent. Wait till he figures this game out. See how good he can be. Wait till he figures it out and puts his consistency together. That's how I see it.
I don't know if this is a fair argument to use, but part of me thinks that just because he plays for the Timberwolves, he's not going to be that good.
That's fair.
That's kind of mean, but
I mean, that's kind of a dick move, but all right. But again, Brandon Ingram SGA solid at 10. Brandon Ingram I think is solid at 11. I would agree. Jamal Murray, Jaylen Brown I think are good as they are. MPJ is a little interesting.
MPJ is very interesting, I think.
At this high, I think he would be lower because...
Really?
Again, he's about as inconsistent as Anthony Edwards. He either shows up or he doesn't.
Okay, do you want to know what his highest ranking was? Of the guys who voted and made this list?
I'm guessing he's probably top 5.
He was 3.
Yeah, I could see him being top 5.
There was Sean Marks listed Luka, Zion, and then Michael Porter Jr., which is kind of the Michael Porter Jr. experience.
Well, again, he could be that good, but again, if he could just put his consistency together, which is the same argument we're having with Anthony Edwards, is if they could just put it together, but that's the hardest part of the NBA. is coming in and day out and producing. Even when you're not like feeling your shot, can you still produce numbers?
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but also he's never going to be more than the third option on that team because you got Jokic and then you got Murray. Those guys are going to take the bulk of the shots. I think if Michael Porter Jr. showed up on a team, it was like on the Magic, it's like, take all the shots. This dude would be really good. Everything about his mechanics, everything about the way he moves on the floor screams superstar to me.
Is it weird to you that Jamal's 13 and MPJ's 14? Is that weird to you?
Okay, so if this was purely hypothetical potential, like what is like if this list
I would
was
take
all
MPJ
about like
over Jamal personally if I'm building a team today.
Yeah, like if this list was based all on like what is your potential, like ceiling to ceiling to ceiling, like that's how you're listing it. I think MPJ should be ranked higher. But if we're talking about who's a better player right now, Jamal Murray is a much better player right now.
Night and day.
Yeah,
night and day. But again,
yes, I think if I had a team, I would probably take
13,
MPJ
14.
over him.
Is it weird that they're 13, 14 though?
Kind of like right next to each other, sort of thing. A little bit. It's a little weird. It's kind of funny.
If you're MPJ, do you take offense to that?
Nah. Well, maybe like maybe like secretly.
I mean,
maybe you're like looking around. It's like, man, screw that guy. Like I'm better than him.
Turning the page just a little bit, I see two guys here that should definitely be higher.
Okay, who are they?
Ja Morant and Domantas Sabonis. Those are two guys who I think I would take Ja over Murray, MPJ, and SGA.
Real quick,
I think SGA is really high.
Do you take Ja over Trae Young?
Yes,
I do too. I completely agree.
question.
I actually completely agree with you. I think that Ja is much better than all these guys. I think that he's a dude that like makes your team better. Literally, the Grizzlies are like, okay, we're in tank mode, and then they drafted Ja. Like, never mind, we're gonna make the playoffs. Great, terrific.
Well, again, so I take Ja over Jamal Murray. I take him over Jaylen Brown.
I wouldn't over Jaylen Brown.
I would take him over
very
Jaylen.
high on Jaylen Brown.
I would take him over SGA, who they have at 10, which is wild.
I take him over SGA for sure.
I take him over Ingram.
Let's get. I guess we can't really talk about our top 9.
Not 9 yet.
But there are some guys in that list I would take Ja over as well.
I would probably, if I'm looking at this, I'd probably put Ja at like 9.
Now, if we're talking about like ceilings, Ja and Trey both have, and Anthony Edwards all have MVP level ceilings.
Yes and no. Trey, I don't think does, but yes.
Trey, because of the stats he puts up. I mean,
Yeah.
all it takes is having like some like a crazy year of like wild stats and
You need
wow
team
everybody.
success to win
Yes,
MVP,
yes.
and the way Trey plays doesn't lead to team success.
Yeah, that's fair. I would totally agree with
But
that.
the other crime in here is Domantas Sabonis at 18. The two-time All-Star at 18 is ridiculous.
It's kind of weird to me. He's only 24 years old. He's played for 3 different teams already.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, he was drafted by the Magic. He played for the Thunder, and then he played for the Pacers. He's like at the max here. By the way, he's 24.9. I don't know if like 25 level is like what their like level is to go down, but 24.9 he is as old as you can be on this list. But the dude is a 2-time All-Star.
I guess the one thing that you can say is like he is what he is at this point. Like he's not getting much better in terms of just overall. I guess they don't see him as being more than what he is now, which is an all-star. But like, come on, like you're saying that Mikal Bridges is better than him. You're saying that Trae Young is better than him. You're saying that SGA is better than, like, again, my biggest crimes to this list so far is Domantas Sabonis being at 18 and Mikal Bridges being at 17.
That's
ridiculous.
Sabonis needs to be over Bridges. That's for sure.
Sabonis should probably be in the top 10. How many guys on this list have been an all-star twice?
Even once.
Like
A lot of these guys
there's
haven't
no
been
one
All-Stars
ahead of him
once.
that's been an all-star twice. At least to this point. Between 20 and 10.
Okay, yes. Okay, because when we move into the top
Yes.
10, yes, there's been some guys. But yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, you know me. I'm a Sabonis lover. My favorite jersey that I own is his father's jersey. And I think that Sabonis has already shown that he is the focal point leader of a team that's good enough to be like top 4 seed, top 5 seed, and like actually be in the playoffs and competing and like being a top level kind of team. You already know for a fact you have that with Sabonis. With a lot of these other guys, you're kind of theorizing, I think he might be good enough to lead his team to maybe be a top 4 seed.
The more I think about it, the more the fact that they have SGA at 10 is wild to me.
That is weird.
That is wild.
That is weird. I mean, I get that the Thunder, pretty low expectations going into the season, have overachieved, even though they suck and they're the worst team in the West. But, like, you kind of thought they were going to lose every game and almost be as bad as, like, that Charlotte Bobcats team that won, like, 9 games or something like that. But they actually have shown to compete on a night in and night out level, and it's all led by SGA. I will say that this year SGA has shown me a lot, but there's nothing that tells me he should be over almost
Ingram,
everyone.
Brown, Murray.
I would not take SGA over Ingram, Brown, Murray, Porter, Ja, Trey, Sabonis. I'd take him over Edwards.
I was about to say, I would, if I were doing this list, I would have Ingram at 10, Brown at 11, Murray, MPJ, Ja, who I don't know. I'd have Sabonis higher than a lot of those guys. But anyways, I would take SGA, Trae Young, and Mikal Bridges and move them all down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I would totally agree with that.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, again, some of these names are just kind of all over the place. Sabonis being at 18, SGA being at 10. There's just a lot to unpack here, but we've kind of exhausted that unless we want to talk in circles. So why don't we revisit this beer
all right,
and talk about Blood and Honey a little bit more.
All right. We're going to reload and talk a little about Revolver Brewing. So I really like this beer. I think that the beer I would compare it to a lot is Blue Moon. It's very weedy.
It is a very, very weedy beer. It's also got like this tang of like sweetness to it.
Mm-hmm. It's got quite a bit of orange, I think, in it.
Which makes it Blue Moony.
Yeah, which I think makes it.
But it's also got this like smooth finish that's like honey.
Oh, yes. Yeah, because, so they do incorporate honey into it, being the blood and honey and whatnot. And I want to say the blood is coming from like an orange type of flavor.
Well, they have a blood orange peel in it. That's
exactly.
What it said, yeah.
Oh, yeah. There we go. The blood orange peel. That's kind of cool, actually. I like that it tells you. And then Texas honey and a blend of spices. I was going to say, I get quite a bit of the spice in it. And it's like, it's hard to blend the smoothness of like a weedy beer, and it's a little bit, it's supposed to be a little bit hard to drink, almost like an IPA. It's supposed to be like you're gotta like kind of work your way through it. But to me, Blood and Honey always is just so easy to drink, so smooth. Like I could be out on a summer's day and drinking it. I could be up on the mountain drinking it, and it's kind of like a very versatile beer.
It's the flavorful but smooth beer. So like I don't want to say it's like Tennessee honey, but I'm comparing honey to where like you end up drinking way more of it than you thought you could because it's so smooth type thing. But there's also a lot of flavor to it.
Yeah. For me, what's really fun is like if you drink it and kind of like coat it over your tongue, you like get the tingliness of like all those spices. And it's like when you just drink it, it's like you don't really taste a lot of the spice, but it's like when it coats your tongue, I was like, ooh, it's like, oh, that's fun. Like I'm seeing where you're coming with on that.
There's more to it than meets the eye, for sure.
Absolutely. Blood and Honey, I have drinking this a ton. It is Revolver Brewing, Blood and Honey, American Ale. Go and check it out. We drink this all the time. When I'm at restaurants, it's kind of a go-to of mine. It's like it's one of those, like, you can't find what you want on the menu, but you see Blood and Honey, it's like, okay, I'll roll with that. I know I like that. It's one of those beers because it's everywhere here in Texas.
Yeah, it's all over the place. And again, I cannot stress this enough. For those of you who are our listeners that are not in the DFW area, not in the Texas region, for those coast to coast, wherever you are, if you end up seeing this, give it a try. Yeah. It's worth it. 100%.
Absolutely. We love repping the DFW stuff. For us, it's local. We love promoting all the local stuff.
It's also easy to find.
I was going to say, this has got to be the easiest to find, probably, of the local things we've promoted.
Yeah, it is all over the place. A lot here. A lot going on for sure.
A lot to unpack. Very beautiful beer, like very tasteful, and it's perfect on kind of any sort of day that you're looking for. So go and find yourself some Revolver Brewing, Blood and Honey American Ale.
Yeah, totally. 100%. All right, so we've got 9 through 1 here, the top 9. Do you want to read them off, or do you kind of want to do this kind of interestingly?
You know what? Yeah, let's do this interestingly.
All right, so we're going to do this with a little bit of a flair, I guess.
We love us some flair.
So we're going to announce each one, and then we're going to kind of break it down and see. We have time for that, right? Mitch is our time guy.
Yes.
So we have time for that. Yeah, we got time for that. So let's break down each player, say we should have him higher or lower. Fair?
That's fair. So are we doing it higher or lower just like purely based on like, oh, this number feels low for him, even though we know what the higher guys are?
We'll leave it up to
okay.
what we decide.
What we think. Okay.
So number 9, we have the big man out of Miami, Bam Adebayo.
So I feel a couple of ways about this with Bam. One is I think that his potential is way higher than a lot of people think it is. I think that his potential is
Kevin Garnett, because that's what I think.
I was going to say Ben Wallace, but Kevin Garnett also makes a lot of sense. I mean, effectively, the best defender in the game for years on end is what his ceiling is. And having the best defender on your team and a guy that he's mobile, you can put him on the perimeter and he makes a difference. You can put him next to the basket and he makes a difference. You could have him handle the ball up the court. Like, he does a lot of things on offense. It's not like having Rudy Gobert out there where it's like, we're going to throw you lobs and that's about all you're going to do on offense. Like, Bam is a really versatile guy on offense, but his ceiling is like, oh my God, like, you cannot do anything against this guy on defense.
Kevin Garnett won an MVP.
Yes. And that is in the realm of possibility if he upped his points per game.
That being said, is he better than Sabonis? In my mind, no.
That's really interesting.
Like, Sabonis at 18 and Bam at 9 because there's not a lot. If you look up and down this list, there's not a lot of big men.
There's not a lot of big men.
And there's a gap between Bam at 9 and Sabonis at 18.
Yeah, no.
And that is interesting to me.
You're very right. I'm very high on Bam. I really like all of the things that Bam can do. I mean, the fact that he averages 5.3 assists a night as a big man is super impressive. I also love Sabonis, and I think Sabonis should have been higher in the first place.
I agree he should have been higher, but should he have been higher than Bam?
No.
Interesting.
It hurts my heart to say. I love Sabonis, but I do think that we are seeing what Sabonis is, which is awesome. He's awesome. He's an all-star.
But Bam could be a DPOY MVP candidate.
Yeah, but Bam could have this crazy high ceiling.
My point in saying this was there's a huge gap between 18 and 9 in terms of big men. There's not a lot of big men on this list to begin with.
Yeah, it's a lot of guards.
Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the list
of the top 25.
Of the top 25, and we've gone through 4 of them now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
there's not a lot of big men on the list to begin with.
It's not a lot of big men to begin with. I kind of think that 9 is about right for Bam.
I would agree.
It's about where right. He is. His ceiling could be crazy high, but if he stays where he's at right now, he's still really good.
He's still like an all-defensive first-team type of guy. He is having a down year this year compared to last year, which I think hurt him, but also him being as good as he was last year helped him get to 9.
Yeah.
Because the way he's playing this year, he isn't 9 type thing.
Yeah, I can see that. I think, last year in the playoff run specifically boosted his notoriety, so that makes a lot of sense.
Let's move on to 8. A guy who I see as criminally low, and that is Devin Booker.
Devin Booker at 8 feels weird.
It feels wrong.
Doesn't it feel weird at 8? Like,
the guy scored 70 points in a game, and they have before he turned 25, and they have him at 8.
And that was even before they were good. And now he's on the number 2 team in the West. And I'm not going to say that Devin Booker is leading the number 2 team in the West, because that is Chris Paul that is leading that team. But what I will say is
he's the best player.
He's the best player on that team.
Yeah.
He is the best player on that team. It's like, I love me some Chris Paul. Chris Paul, he shows up and he makes your team exponentially better. But Devin Booker is the best player on the number 2 seed in a just absolutely loaded Western Conference. It feels weird that they have him at 8.
My only thing that I can think of is them being like, he is what he is. That being said, he is what he is like young Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, well, let's not just throw that out there. Like, he offensively could be Kobe Bryant. Like, defensively, he's never going to touch what Kobe did, right?
That's fair.
You know what I mean?
That's fair.
But offensively, he does a lot of the same stuff that Kobe did.
His game is kind of creepily similar.
You can tell that, like, Booker was like a Kobe fan growing up, and like he said this numerous times. He's been a huge one of the names that you always hear when it comes to Kobe stuff, Kobe tribute stuff. Devin Booker's always one of those names that you're hearing about.
I've seen one of these videos where they like cut between stuff, so like it'll be Devin Booker doing like this spin move fadeaway thing, and then they'll cut to a Kobe Bryant thing, and it's like eerily similar type thing. It's kind of eerie. The guy definitely modeled his game after Kobe. Guy's a absolute killer on offense. Will he ever be what Kobe was defensively? Absolutely not. Will he ever have like a Shaq to Kobe? Probably not. But offensively, the guy is one of the best players in the game.
Yeah, I mean, so he averages 26 a game, 4.5 assists, 4 rebounds on 50% from the field and 37% from three. And mind you, the 3-pointers that he's taking are not wide open corner threes.
These are step backs. These are contested. These are off the dribble. These are not easy threes.
Yeah, like we're always knocking guys like Luka where it's like his percentage seems lower than what it should be because he's always taking those like step backs. He's taking hard threes. Devin Booker has worked his way up from kind of like lower than like below average 3-pointer, but then he's kind of worked his way up to above average 3-pointer, and it's one of those things where it's like I think that he's turning really good. His potential is super high, but I think that he should be more around 5.
I was gonna say.
I think that's where he should land.
I think he's definitely higher than 8. I'm looking at this list, and I would put him at around 5.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next guy, which would be the big man, but not big man. So I'm not going to call him a big man. It's the point forward, as by definition, that's Ben Simmons.
Mm-hmm. Ben Simmons is super interesting. Again, he might win DPOY this year. So my gut says that he should be higher. Like he also feels like he's a top 5 talent when you're talking about the top players under the age of 25. But I don't know. I mean, he refuses to shoot the ball, which is a big part of basketball.
To me, it seems right at 7. Defensively, he's one of the best players in the game. Offensively, he's okay.
If you told me anywhere between 4 and 7 or 4 and 6, that's kind of where I think he should be.
I think that he is very okay where he is. Again, in the NBA right now, you shoot a ton of threes, right? And you shoot a lot of outside shots. You shoot as a guy who cannot score from outside the paint as a guard. You're really capping your potential.
I just think that he needs to be like the number one guy on a team with the team built around what it is he does well. Get the Giannis treatment. And we would see a whole nother level of what Ben Simmons can be. I think that he could be a 20, 25 point per game scorer just because he gets the hole so well. But he refuses to shoot threes.
And on a team,
doesn't even try anymore.
And on a team where he's not even kind of the best player, that's Joel Embiid 100%. Like, he's got to kind of cater. That being said, as a guy who's bought into his role, the team is really good. Like, you can't fault a guy for buying into a role. A coach coming and said, listen, like, offensively, you're good, not great, but you could be elite defensively if you buy in.
Yeah, buy into this role.
He has bought in.
Yeah. Oh, he totally has. And that's why he might win DPOY.
He is a scary defender. And that's why 7, I think, is a good spot because just on defense alone, he is well deserving of being in the top 10.
He's definitely top 10. But we're talking about a guy that might be the best defender in the entire league, and he's only 7th in the top 25 players. Like, obviously, offense is a big part of it, but defense also is 50% of basketball, and this dude might be the best defender in the entire game. Yeah. I think that he should be a little higher, but I'm not going to complain about the fact that he's 7.
I could see him moving up to 6 looking on this next name, but I think 7's fair. I could see him flipping places with this next guy who would be one De'Aaron Fox.
Yes. De'Aaron Fox is a bit of an enigma to me. He has shown big-time flashes. He's kind of like carried the Kings, and in a way to where like the Kings were like bad for a long time. And
then hard to watch bad.
Yeah, and then De'Aaron Fox showed up, and it was like, we might make the playoffs. I'm not saying he should be top 10. I don't really think he should be top 10, but I do think that there's a level of credit that he deserves that people are going to like poo-poo him on for being top 10. It's like, oh, he's not that good. It's like, but he is still very, very good.
He's a good player. He's a good young player. Of the guys that are in the top 10, he is the least deserving in my opinion. It's between him and SGA.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, SGA I don't think should be in there at all. I think that, to me, Fox should be
Again,
lower.
this is
He should be lower.
This is also based on potential, and his potential is good.
Potential's pretty high.
A guy who could defend, a guy who's fast, probably one of the fastest players in the NBA.
Growing
can
three-point shot every year.
Yeah, I was about to say, is getting better at shooting, can jump with the best of them, can yam like nobody's business.
Oh, I love a good game-winning dunk. You don't see a lot of good game-winning posters these
I think
days.
he might have two
Yeah.
of them. So just all over the place, super good, super fast, super fun to watch. He comes in at 6.
He's at 6. I don't know if there's a whole lot to say outside of I love watching De'Aaron Fox. One of your better league pass guys. Like, if you're just gonna like pop on the Kings game, pop it on, check it out how De'Aaron's doing, check out how Halliburton's doing, and then pop it off and go do another game. But De'Aaron Fox is absolutely worth watching. But yes, he's too high.
And moving on to number 5, I mean, these top 5 are definitely interesting, definitely full of intrigue and full of, I guess, debate would be the right word. Number 5, who is just kind of a wild name at number 5, is Jason Tatum.
Dude, I love Jason Tatum.
I love Jason Tatum as well.
5 feels low for a guy that has led a team to an Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you lead a team to the conference finals and you're not even 25 years old, it feels like you should be in consideration for number 1.
That being said,
living at number 5.
the team is struggling to get over 500 this year.
They kind of suck this year.
It's same guy.
I don't even know why.
Same guy. I would argue he might have even a better team this year.
The Celtics are in a very, very weird spot this year for numerous reasons. You can go to like, do we keep Kemba? Do we not have enough bigs? Is Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, are they the guys? Are they the guys together? And a lot of debate this year is who's better between Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, because Brown has taken such a big leap forward, while Tatum has pretty much been what Tatum has
Stayed
been
the same.
for the last several years, which, don't get me wrong, is an all-star, is an all-NBA caliber type of talent, an awesome dude. But how good? But where can he take you to a championship? That is the question that Celtics are in right now.
We talked how Devin Booker resembled Kobe. Jason Tatum,
he's another guy that's like that.
Is another guy who looks like he modeled a lot of his game after Kobe.
That really nice footwork, the fadeaways, the mid-range game.
Plays a lot of good defense as well.
Yeah, Tatum plays a lot of good defense.
He modeled his game after older Kobe for sure.
Yeah. Oh,
with
you
that
can
little
you can totally
turnaround, fadeaway type game. Yeah, his jump shot, his clutch gene, had a lot of clutch shots this year. But for a guy who can't will his team over 500 in the East,
in a bad East this year,
5
I think he's knocked
seems
down
okay.
because of that.
5 seems okay.
So I was kind of in my head coming up with a list of like what I think it is. In my opinion, Tatum is which people aren't going to agree with me, but Tatum's 2.
2.
Yes.
I have him at 4.
Tatum to me is 2.
I have him at 4 personally.
And that's fair.
I have him ahead of one of these guys.
Some of these guys, it's like it's hard to argue against a lot of these guys.
I mean, they're all great players. We're nitpicky here.
Yes.
And my nitpick here is that he is in year 3, 4. So he's got ample time to figure out the NBA, and he can't will his team over 500. Come on. In the East, come on.
I mean, yeah,
come on.
That's rough, but everything he's shown me up to this point has just like. He already is a superstar. He's only 23 on the dot, and he's going to be on this list for another 2 years.
Well, yeah, and he could get better, but I'm saying you've got another guy on this list in Jaylen Brown. You've got an all-star in Kemba Walker, and you can't be above 500? Come on.
Yeah,
Come on.
Look, I agree. I agree that is kind of weak, but I think that we're like this list. We're talking about the potential of someone. To me, Jason Tatum is a guy that if I draft, I think I can win a championship with.
Oh, I would agree. You could definitely win a championship with Jason Tatum.
And maybe he wins an MVP. And we're kind of in this group, like when you're getting to the top 10, top 5, these guys are all like potential all-stars, potential MVPs, potential number 1 guys. But yes, I love Tatum. I've liked him for a long time.
I would agree. Let's move on to number 4, Donovan Mitchell of the Utah Jazz.
Ah, man. Donovan Mitchell he's another.
So good.
Okay, weird point. I think we've talked about this, but dude's only 6'1". I can't believe it. He plays like he's 6'6".
And a great, and I'm talking great defender.
Oh yeah.
A great defender. Ice in his veins scorer, especially in the playoffs. I mean, X amount of guys have had 50-point games in the playoffs. Hit so many clutch shots. And it's the figurehead on a team that's a number 1 in the West.
Yeah.
Like out of nowhere, number 1 in the West.
So he is the figurehead of that team, but that team is really good.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's like the team is kind of like better than the sum of their parts sort of thing, where the team of the Jazz is overachieving than what you would assume just based on like personnel. But Mitchell is the leader of that team. He's the emotional leader. He may not be the oldest guy. Like you still have Ingles, you got Conley and Gobert and like older guys, but it seems to me every time crunch time comes around, everyone's looking at Mitchell.
As they should.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy is clutch as clutch can get. Hit so many big shots. He's undersized. He can yam with the best of them. He plays good defense. This guy has got the whole package figured out.
Career high 40% from 3 this year. That's scary. That is super scary. Because if he's making threes and we all know the type of threes that Donovan Mitchell likes to take.
I was about to say, he's not making easy threes either.
Him, along with Booker, along with Luka, like these guys are taking the hard threes. They're not taking the easy threes. He's taking the hard ones. And the fact that he's over 40% this year should be a very scary thought to a lot of teams because to me, I think his ceiling rose a lot this year. I always thought that he had a floor of like, he's just going to be an all-star like for a long time, but I never really thought that he was going to enter best shooting guard in the league kind of territory, going to enter like potential MVP, top 5 MVP, like first team all NBA. The way he's playing this year shows me that he's probably more in that category than I thought he was going into it.
I would agree 100%. Great player, going to be a great player for the long time. I would argue this year or this generation's Dwayne Wade.
Yeah, I mean, when he came into the league, that was kind of what he looked like. And if he's going to be able to
shoot like this, like he's going to be better than this generation's Dwayne Wade. But
he's shooting better than Dwayne Wade ever shot. Now, Dwayne Wade was a freak, and he was faster and quicker than Donovan will ever dream to be. But yes, their games is very similar. The way that they go about playing the game of basketball,
very aggressive.
Yes,
very
aggressive.
Just
love to attack the
zeroed,
rim.
100 to 0 again. He goes to like just start, stop, super jerky type.
Yeah, that
game.
Burst ability, right?
Yeah. Moving on to arguably the most controversial. Wow.
Don't worry, we're not getting drunk.
Controversial player on this list. Mitch is going to have a lot to say here. They have LaMelo Ball at 3.
What the hell? What the hell? Number 3? Okay, so I understand that he has very, very high potential, right? Super high potential. But are we really... Okay, I'm going to go over a list of guys that I think have at least the same amount of potential that LaMelo Ball does. It's okay. You can open the beer.
I'm trying to open it quietly.
He's trying to be quiet over here. Okay, Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, Simmons, Booker, Jaylen Brown, Murray, Porter, Ja, Trey.
Really? In terms of potential as well?
Yes. All those guys.
That's ridiculous.
All those guys. All those guys I think have the same potential that he does, which if we're talking about your maximum potential, every single one of those guys has MVP maximum potential, and every single one of those guys has shown me that they are better on their team and like more valuable to their team right now than LaMelo is. The Hornets are arguably better since LaMelo's been injured.
What? No.
He got injured, they went on a huge streak, and they were the number 4 team in the East.
LaMelo is at least top 10.
Okay, look.
Should he be 3? I would agree no.
His max is very high, but his ceiling is very low.
Should he be 3? I would agree with no. Should he be in the top 10? 100%.
I don't know. We're
gonna have a whole LaMelo dedicated podcast.
Look, the funny thing is, I like the way he plays basketball. It's fun to watch. It's super fun to watch.
We get it. You think he's a dick. Move on. We've been here before.
He's super fun to watch, and his stats aren't amazing, but he is a rookie. Your stats your rookie year usually aren't amazing, but he's not like the number 1 guy on his team. Like, it's not like they toss the keys to him. Like, I don't understand why we're deciding that he should be a the top 3 over guys who have been all-stars, over guys that have been to the freaking finals like Bam Adebayo, over guys that are like potential like defensive player of the year candidates like Ben Simmons. I would take all those dudes on my team over LaMelo if I was drafting.
Because he's putting up Luka-like numbers as a rookie, and everyone is like on this Luka train where they're like, wait, you did what Luka did? Cool. Let's say you're Luka.
Hold on. I believe you. But his stats is only like
here,
16,
you look up
6, and 6.
LaMelo stats. I'll look up Luka stats.
Well, I was okay. I'll go over to LaMelo. It's not like I want him to be bad. I think that he's really fun. I think that he's a good time to watch. I think that he is going to be a big personality in the NBA for a very long time. But I don't know.
All right, what was his points per games his rookie year?
Luka?
No. LaMelo.
Okay, LaMelo is... I'm sorry, I'm still getting there. He just hasn't played in so long, it's hard to find his stats. Okay, so he is averaging 16 points a game.
Luka was 20.
6 assists.
6 assists.
And 6 rebounds.
7 rebounds.
Okay, Luka averaged 20 points a game.
Yeah, well, Luka was really
LaMelo
good.
Ball is not Luka. And people, people want him to be, though.
But they see that big guard who can do what Luka can do. That's the thing. That's what the NBA is going towards.
Well, okay, so I have a theory. You want a fun theory? They are putting him this high because they want him to be that good. He is one of the most marketable. Him, along with some of the other top guys we've had here, are some of the most marketable young guys they've had in a very long time. LaMelo's been famous since his freshman year of high school when he put 50. And it's...
You mean 100?
He put up 100. He just cherry picked his way to 100 points. He may have scored 50 of those, which is impressive, but like 50 of those were cherry picking points. Anyways, he's super marketable. The NBA wants him to be super good. The ESPN is in the NBA's ear all the time. I'm willing to bet that he's actually he turns out to be
top 10.
He turns out to be an all-star, but nothing more than that.
He's top 10.
I don't know. I think that he turns out to be an all-star, and he's nothing more than that.
I would put him above Fox, Simmons, Bam, SGA. That puts him in the top 10.
I mean, yes, I will accept top 10, but I will not accept top 3.
I won't accept top 3 either. I won't even accept top 5 because there's 5 players better.
It is fun.
Speaking of
it
the
is
5
fun to have
players
him here
better.
because it's very controversial.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to be a million minutes long if we keep going here, so let's keep going. Let's move on. Zion Williamson, they have at number 2, which I think is fair.
Still feels like kind of high for a guy that
is about to break Shaq's record for most consecutive 20-point games in a row.
Still feels kind of high for a guy that, again, we've had other dudes on this list that are in the category for first team All-NBA, in the category for defensive player of the year, in good, best player on good teams. And Zion is arguably not the most important player on his own team. Arguably, you could sit there.
You can say the same argument about Shaq every year, though. Someone needed to get Shaq the ball.
You could.
Honestly, it's the problem with being a big man.
I've never really thought about that. But
it's the problem with being a big man. The big man needs the ball, someone to get him the ball to score. That's the problem with today's NBA is everybody in the NBA needs to create an ISO shot where Zion's going old school. Where you get him in the position where he can score and he's going to score every single damn time. He's going 90s with it.
So here's the thing for you. Zion has 2 other guys on this list. And they're not even sniffing the playoffs.
Well, yeah, because the Pelicans are bad.
Yes, he has 2 other guys in the top 25 under 25. Maybe in the East you're a much better team. And I think you can make that argument for most Western Conference teams. But they're right now they are deep in the hole, not looking like they're going to even make the play-in game. Zion, I think, absolutely top 5, absolutely minimum top 10. If you wanted to put some of the other guys over him, I don't know if I'd necessarily bitch about it, but I understand that his ceiling is wildly high. I mean, his ceiling is
Shaq,
LeBron, Shaq right?
Yes.
And so I totally get that. So if he's number 2, I'm not going to complain nearly as much as I complain about LaMelo being number 3. I totally get it. Zion has already been an all-star. He's already awesome. He's already putting up crazy stats on crazy efficiency. The dude's gonna be really good, obviously.
He needs, I don't want to say more help because it's not the right word. He needs the right help. And the way the Pelicans are constructed are just so clunky and weird. Mm-hmm. And like, yes, they've got good young players, but they've got some really old bad players, and they've got some weird fits. Everything about them is just weird. So I'm not going to fault Zion for that, but he's going old school, which you kind of have to appreciate, to where like, can he get his old shot in transition? 100%. But like, you ask him to get his own shot in the half court? No. But if you get him a shot where he's effective, he's unbeatable.
He's dominant.
He's unbeatable. And that's old school 90s. You're talking Shaq. You're talking your Tim Duncans. You're talking a lot of those old school guys that are just dominated on the block for years.
And that's probably what he's going to be. If he can pick up a 3-point shot, if he can develop his game as he goes forward,
even if it's not even like an average 3-point shot, if he can shoot like 33, 34% from three, or at least the guy's got to kind of get out there.
Like, you have to think about defending him. It makes a big difference.
Yes.
It makes a big difference in a defender's eyes, when it's like, I'm just going to let him shoot the three and I'm going to try to defend the paint, as opposed to like, I kind of got to get out there and put my hand up. And if you do that, then he blows right by you. And that by itself, gives him up.
The big thing for Zion is obviously the injury risk, because there's just so much, everyone knows there's so much torque on those knees. You're just hoping that they hold for as long as they can.
Yeah, and it's true. Zion is really fun to watch. I would like to see a bit more of the team success before we put him at a place like number 2. I would totally accept number 5. This is why I kind of like Tatum at number 2. He has already taken a team to the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, he's proven that he can be an all-NBA caliber talent. Zion clearly is on his way to there. And it's whatever they put around him, what's the team you can develop around him. But yes, I agree with you. I think that he's definitely a top 5 kind of guy.
Absolutely. Let's move on. I'm kind of curious.
Numero uno.
Was it a unanimous number 1? Do you know?
I think so. Let me double check.
I'm very confident that this was a unanimous number 1.
Go ahead and just say it. Say it proudly.
My guy, my Maverick, Luka freaking Doncic, baby.
It was unanimous, by the way.
Yes, he is this generation's LeBron.
There's not a lot to like discuss. He is the number 1 guy. When you're putting up triple doubles, when you're in the MVP conversation, when you're going into your 3rd season, and
he's 22. He just turned 22 less than 2 months ago.
So he's gonna be on this list for another 3 more years, right? So
he'll be he was number 1 last year.
Yeah, like going into this season, we discussed this preseason. We both thought that he was the leading candidate to be MVP. The leading candidate to be the MVP.
At the time, 21 years old.
We're not talking about a guy that in theory might win MVP someday if he develops this or that. Like, this is a guy that right now is a walking 30-point triple-double and very well may be like the MVP at some point, maybe a champion at some point. It's like, this is the kind of thing that you're expecting from Luka at this point, and it's whether he can live up to those expectations, and it's whether the Mavericks can put the pieces around him to win a championship, or maybe he goes somewhere else and does it. You hate to see that, but Luka is an all-generational talent, and that's no doubt about it.
Absolutely, 100%. The big knock on him going into this year was like, can he figure out how to shoot the ball? And in the past 3-4 months, he's shot 40% on those crazy step backs.
That little underneath the legs step back, it's almost like an underneath the legs and like a hardened step back. And it's beautiful, man.
It's a travel and a half, but no one's calling
everything's
it.
a travel now, man.
We're gonna live with it. But yes, Luka, not even a question in anybody's mind. Just all generational talent. Like you said, a walking triple double at the age of 22. It's one of those things where if he scores less than 20, you're like, is he okay? Is he hurt?
Did something bad happen? Yeah.
You good, bro? Playing with kind of scrubs for the most part, but just willing the Mavericks, making them going the Mavericks went from literal I hope we get back to the playoffs at some point in our lifetime to we have championship aspirations with one guy, and that's it.
Dude, that's the beauty of having a guy like Donnie Nelson in your front office, is he's so European forward. He's very active in the Euro markets and who's good and who's not. He knew for a fact that Luka was the best player in that draft. And that's why you work so hard to trade up. That's why you traded the multiple firsts up to go and get Luka Doncic, because he knew it. He knew it before everyone else. The moment that Luka stepped on the NBA court, we all saw it. Luka, his rookie year, they're like, oh, is it harder to score here? It's like, kind of easier. I don't know if you know this, but there's a lot of space in the NBA court and it allows me to do my magic. Luka is kind of designed for this current NBA.
They call LeBron like the king, but in 10 years from now, people will be saying Luka Magic. And
Luka Magic?
I'm a firm believer in that.
Do you want to like copy the Magic thing though?
That's what they say. Luka Magic. That's what they say all the time. This is Luka Magic.
The second iteration of Magic.
Yeah. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. That is our 25 under 25. Capped off by Luka being number one. A lot of intrigue along the way. It's a lot of potential driven. We'll be kind of interested to hear what you guys have to say about this, whether you think we were wrong, we were right. Is LaMelo the right guy at 3? Is SGA the right guy at 10? Should Sabonis be higher? Should Mikal Bridges be higher? Am I full of shit? I don't know. Those are just our two opinions. I'd love to hear what you guys like to say. I'm sure Mitch would as well. Just a lot of fun to have here.
Yeah, a lot of fun. I love stuff like this. Stuff like this list sparks debate. This is what makes watching basketball so much fun for us as fans, is to like sit there and just like kind of bullshit about stuff. Just sit there and debate topics that really have no true answer, and it's so fun. That's why I love this top 25 list every year it comes out.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers, brother.
Cheers, buddy.